Alright, so this is Rolly versus Teo, full fight analysis. Round one, you can see Teo, he had the touch jab going, he had more rhythm and distance, and he had more wiggle, but that's expected because that's his style. Rolly was more stiff and he tried to work behind his shoulder. He was rather slow. Now, near the end of the round, Rolly jumped in with a hook that was blocked, and Teo ended up throwing some heat that Rolly was able to avoid, but Rolly, he only used a touch jab. He didn't know how to really throw a real jab, and Ismail Salas would get on him about that. But the touch jab is pretty much for tempo and illusion to set up harder shots, but Rolly doesn't have good traps, so it's kind of a waste. And Rolly only had the body jab, so he didn't really have an understanding or a fully developed jab, so he couldn't set no offense. Rolly's defense from the first round, you can see, was just jumping back, kind of like how Shakur does, but without the understanding. And Rolly, he doesn't step to the side, he just continues to jump back, and he has very wide movements with his footwork. He couldn't set up his offense, and Teo didn't bite on any of the touch jabs, so his offense ended up being telegraphed power shots, and Teo was much more comfortable. In the second round, Teo came out with a triple jab, and you see the difference in his rhythm. He landed a nice lead 5 to the body early. Rolly was still stiff and not taking Ismail Salas' advice about the feints. Teo's whole body, he will move these subtle little movements, and it's kind of crazy. It's like since Shakur beat Teo, Shakur does that little rock and that 1-2 bounce in his movement. Teo took some of what Shakur did to him and added it to his game, and that stood out to me in the second round. Teo was landing right hands off the triple jab, and he was changing levels with the jab. So he'd throw the jab upstairs, throw the jab downstairs, throw it back upstairs, and then come with the right hand. Rolly was mesmerized by that. Teo had great jabs to the body in this round, and he set up the 2 and the 5. Rolly, once he realized he couldn't get his offense off, he was waiting on single shots and basic counters. And in the last minute of the round, Teo landed some very hard shots. In round 3, Rolly came out flailing the lead jab, and for some reason he was holding it out there. So Rolly, to me, is like what a decent athlete looks like when he doesn't have a jab. He had a very amateurish style. Teo established the jab the first minute of the round. Even when they traded jabs, Teo's jab was sharper, and it popped Rolly's head back. Rolly tried to lead hook, but Teo kept his right hand up as his father had implored him to do in the corner. Rolly barely lands a long 2, and whenever Rolly was throwing them long, reaching 2s, he would displace his body, so he wasn't trying to get hit. And it seemed like that's the only thing he could get. That's one of the easiest shots to land in boxing, but it's not really effective when you just lunge your whole body. Teo adapted to Rolly's body jab by chopping down with 2s. So remember, Rolly was just doing the pawing, measured jab, the tempo jab. Wasn't able to get that off. So then he was going to the body. Teo was chopping down every time Rolly went to the body. And then Teo actually started to jab under Rolly's lead hook because Rolly was trying to throw the lead hook because he didn't have anything set up off the jab, so he was just leading with hooks in the right hand. Rolly's sole defense in this fight was to jump back or, single punch counters. So his style is not really getting the most out of his body. And that's why I was a little bit disappointed with Ismail Salas, because I believe Rolly is more of a bruiser than a slick fighter, and I don't think he's ever going to have a great understanding. But he can still be dominant if he stays within his parameters. So in the third round, Lopez had a beautiful kidney shot behind the jab feint. And then at the end of the round, he jabbed downstairs and smothered Rolly. There's a serious skill gap that was apparent, and Teo finished the round with another jab feint. And then he brought the 2 around Rolly's lead hand because Rolly had the L guard. Remember, Rolly was trying to work behind the shoulder. And pretty much that jab feint or jab 2 around the guard or 2 around the lead hand was going to be Teo's bread and butter all night. He was going to do that same trick over and over, and Rolly was going to have no adaptation for it. And Rolly, he had to go for every single feint each time. So Teo was doing a lot of feinting. Because Rolly only has the defense of jumping back, Rolly had to go for every single feint every last time. In round 4, Teo started with that triple jab again in the right hand. It was perfect because Rolly's defense is jumping back. So if you triple jab or double jab, you back him up, you put him in the corner, or you put him in the ropes. Rolly steps back, but doesn't step to the side or forward. So he doesn't really know how to move around the ring. And Rolly was getting ran around the ring just by a jab in the right hand to the body. Rolly tried to let his hands go, but he missed. But he ended up landing one body shot, but he took a shot. And then he also ended up landing 4-3, but he took a shot when he did that as well. That right there was kind of like a glimpse into how his style really should be. He really should be a guy that trades kind of like Errol Spence. He'd be much more dominant, and he has the physical body to do it. But they got him trying to actually be a boxer. Now in the fourth round, Rolly landed a check hook, and then he landed another one of them long body shots near the end of the round. Then he landed a few good shots as well near the end. But this was a clear round for Teo because Rolly, he landed single shots here and there at the end. He didn't let his hands go, and Teo was controlling the round with just a jab and, of course, the 2 to the body. So Ismail tells Rolly in the corner after the fourth round he got to let his hands go. But Rolly is uncomfortable because he has no jab, no feints, and no setups for his offense. He's pretty much just telegraphing shots. Now round 5 starts, and Rolly's working behind the shoulder again, which is a bad defense for him. And Ismail should have taught Rolly how to fight with the high guard, or even no guard at all. But he's way too stiff and uncoordinated to be doing that shoulder roll stuff. Now Rolly landed an overhand from distance, but it wasn't much on it because when he was throwing these long range shots, some of the only shots he was landing, he was focused on getting away as opposed to building on that offense. And Teo accuracy had Rolly not really trying to trade. So Rolly tried a body shot. Teo stayed tall and chopped down on it like he was doing with the jab. And then Rolly had his best moment. He landed a big left hand, and Teo was bleeding, right? Then Rolly landed a clean jab to the body, and he built off of that. And he finally caught Teo with a huge overhand right. He almost dropped Teo, and he jumped on him immediately. Teo bent down on weak legs, and Rolly put his weight on his back. And to me, I think that was a knockdown because Teo's legs were giving out, and Teo had bent over, which led to him going on the ground. So I think that was a knockdown, but it wouldn't have been enough to win the fight. Now, this is the first time that, Teo was hurt, and he was, bleeding. But Teo finished the round with good defense off the ropes, and then he tried to back Rolly up with 2 potential counters, but Rolly got out of the way, right? But then he showed that he wasn't trying to back down. He was still willing to fight, but he caught 2 hooks coming in at the end of the round. But this is a clear round for Rolly. This is his best round. It's pretty much a 10-8 round if you ask me. Now round 6, Teo started the round with hard body shots. He was changing levels, and he was throwing that flick jab. He had good feints and level changes with the feints. And then he continued to attack Rolly's weak side, behind jabs and jab feints. And Rolly continued to spam check hooks. But, whenever Teo punched, that's a cheap tactic. So, as soon as your opponent punches, you could just throw a punch with him or check hook, right? Because nothing else was working. So it's like a punch for a punch or a trade. Teo landed a sharp jab to the solar plexus of Rolly. It was followed by, hooks to the body. And that was another jab behind that. And he continued backing Rolly up with just a jab and then attacking the weak side behind the jab. He literally just kept doing the same thing over and over. Because Rolly was trying to roll, he gives up the weak side, right? When you're in that shoulder roll defense, you're trying to roll and you're bending down, especially on the ropes, you can give up the weak side. So if somebody takes an angle, they can easily throw combinations. Teo did that in the 6th round. He did it in other rounds as well. All right. Now, Teo was very menacing in this fight, and he was brave. And I think he was trying to right his wrong for the Shakur fight where he really didn't go after. He really didn't go for broke because he wasn't trying to get knocked out by Shakur, right? But then he lands a hard jab and then a 5 to the body. And Teo's backing Rolly up. And Teo doing the same thing pretty much on offense, just lead hand jabs or jab feint, attack the weak side with the right hand. You can see that part of Rolly's body was red by the second half of the fight. All right, so the pace started slow in round 7. Teo touched Rolly first with hooks to the body, and Rolly responded with a hard body shot. And then Teo came over the top of Rolly's lead hand with a 2-1, and they changed levels, hit him with a 1-2.